Hello everybody, and welcome to Thought Soup. So I was supposed to make a video on the other topic, which was the difference between personal experience and knowledge theory. But I really felt it was important to do a third episode on the ego, because there's a few things I wanted to touch on. So this is episode number 7. Now, at the end of episode 6, I alluded to the fact that ego is not real, it doesn't exist. So I thought I would develop this a little bit more, just to give a little bit of understanding why I say this. So the first reason is because, well, it's personal experience. This is what happened to me, like it happened to many other people. And so that's the first thing. I'm not going to talk about that today, maybe one day, but so that's the first thing. It's a very subjective, evident reality. But let's try to see why that is also with logic. Now, when we observe something, anything, there has to be the object that we're observing and the observer, right? We have to be two. So when I'm actually observing my thoughts or my mind or anything that's happening inside or outside for that matter, there is the object of observation and the observer. So how does that work? So when I say, for example, I'm observing my thoughts, well, who is observing the thoughts? So if there is some thing or someone that's observing the thoughts, then who do the thoughts belong to? Right? You can, if you can do this right now, you can sense. So there's two of us. We're absolutely nuts. So in order to be aware of something, there needs to be the thing and the observer. Okay? So that means there's two things. That's why the ego is actually not real, because it's a thing, it's a mental construct which we mistaken for ourselves. But if that were true, we wouldn't be able to observe ourselves. A fish does not know it's in water. It has no evidence for that. It doesn't know what air is. It has no comparison. In the same way, we are not aware that right now we're evolving in O2. This is oxygen. We're not aware of it. We're not like, oh, this is air, but I can perceive the oxygen. No, you can't. You cannot. So that it's the point is, we cannot be aware of anything if that's all there is. So in order to be aware, there's something that is aware of something else. Okay, so that's the second reason I would say. That's why ego is not real. Because it can be observed. It can be criticized or analyzed, and ultimately it can actually disappear. As crazy as this may sound to some of you, and to a lot of you, it won't sound crazy at all. So, I'll give you a concrete example, which we've all had at least once in our life. When you're sleeping, deep sleep, night, sometimes we're woken up. Somebody wakes us up, or there's an alarm, or there's something. Have you ever noticed that sometimes you wake up, you open your eyes, and you look around, and you have no idea where you are, who you are, and the first thought that comes to mind is, what the hell is this? Where am I? What's going on? And then it lasts maybe 1 second, maybe 2. It's a very quick thing. All of a sudden, it's like all the download comes back, and oh yeah, this is who I am, this is the house I'm in, this is my house, or this is so and so's, I'm in this place, this is what all the story comes back. Have you ever lived this before? I'm sure you have. It's a very, very different feeling. When you wake up and you don't know what anything is, or where you are, or anything, that's the essence of you, without all the ego, all the stories, all the history, all the plans, and all the blah, blah, blah. That's just you looking around and wondering, what the hell is going on? That's a very good example. So I just wanted to add this little bit just to complete, even if superficially, and even if there's not something we can talk about a lot because it is experience-based. The example I often give is, if I were to ask you how a strawberry tastes and you've never had a strawberry, you wouldn't know. So you could ask me then, how does it taste? Well, it tastes like, and I would have to go to a comparison. I would have to go into a comparison because you have not experienced the taste of a strawberry. It is not part of your experience. So then we have to go to the next best thing, is compare. It is like something that you may have tasted. That's part of how we experience reality, is if we experience it directly, or we try to make it is like this, it is like that. We have to compare to something that we've experienced. Now, once we have awareness, meaning there's an observer looking in on what's going on, then we can notice that ego is at work. We can see that there's a lot of noise in the head, thoughts are coming in, all this noise. We can be aware of that. Then we can maybe see that there's judgment. We can see that there's interpretation. We can see all our behavior, right? So there's something that's seeing all of this. Now, once we do all this, we can observe after a time, right? After this becomes a habit, then we can probably notice that sometimes the noise quiets down. I've talked about this before. The noise in the head quiets down. Or it doesn't quiet down, but we don't pay attention to it. Our attention is not focused on the thoughts that are produced by the brain, by the ego. And so we're fine. We don't really care. And not focusing on it, the noise lessens. We're sometimes able to meditate more easily. We can stay calm, whereas you can just sit and just be calm. Just observe what is, outside and inside. So it's actually quite useful, because it does bring about a change in your life. It does bring about a tranquility. And another advantage is that you can start, when you are aware of your own processes inside, then you can become aware of others, but not in a judging way, or it can be a judgment, it doesn't matter. Anyway, you don't really pay attention to so many of your thoughts. But you can be aware of others. You can see their ego at work. And you can notice if they're aware of what's going on or not. And that's really interesting, because it makes it that your reactions can be much more adapted to the circumstance. So if somebody's very aggressive, you notice this aggression, you are noticing also your responses, if any, and that can be dealt with. It's not a reaction that is completely unconscious. So you just become more conscious, more aware, more present. And that has very valuable implications, obviously. So basically, ego is not real, but it appears as real because we identify with it. That's what we think we are. So it's just like a misconception on our part. It's just a misconception. It's a very, very easy misconception because everything seems to be so, but as soon as you start noticing more and more, then you're aware of how illusionary it all is. And the famous, as I was saying in the last videos, prison that we're in all of a sudden starts to disappear. And freedom arrives. So that's it for this week, and that will conclude for now this mini 3-episode series on the ego. I really hope this helps in some way. It inspires maybe. And if you have any questions, as always, I will answer them as best I can. And I'll see you next week, where we will talk about the difference between knowing something intellectually, having learned a lesson, and actually experiencing something. That will be the next video. See you then. Bye-bye.